In this video, I'm going to show you guys a key position where oftentimes we don't want to take material. A lot of players make this mistake and this position comes up a lot. So let's dive in and let's take a look. Okay, so we're going to start the video from right here. First things first, it's white to play here. Do I trade queens? No. I develop my queen and attack. I'm attacking, so I don't want to trade queens. My opponent castles here. Okay, so what do you think I did here now? I want to develop my two pieces that are not in the game. So I develop my bishop with tempo. I go after the knight. Now, I'm not threatening to win the knight per se because the bishop's also defending with the queen. However, I'm applying pressure to it, and the knight's pinned. The knight can't move, so it's starting to get uncomfortable, and I'm planning to get my rook into the game. My opponent plays h6. Now, I could take right now because it's pinned, but again, the theme of this video is don't take. Now, this is not the main part right now, what I was talking about in the intro. I'll get to that in a second, so wait to the end of the video. That's where I get to the specific position that's very important. But the overall theme still applies here. I don't take. I build, I develop, and I attack the queen. I'm giving my opponent more problems. Okay, so more threats, more problems. Just think of it like that. We want to build the problems for our opponent in chess. We don't want to necessarily cash in on material all the time. Okay, my opponent moves out of the way. I attacked, developed my rook. Now, what's the difference between taking as opposed to developing my rook and attacking? Well, I got another piece into the game. So now when I do cash in on material, if I want to, I have another piece to get into the game. Okay, so that's what I go ahead and do. Now when I cash in on material, the knight cannot block the checkmate because now his queen's behind his knight. So now he would lose his queen. So now he has less options because I decided to develop. Now let's take a look at that again. If I played this instead, now he could play knight g6. So if you're asking, why do you build up the pressure? Well, this is one of the reasons. I'm limiting my opponent's options. He decided to he defended. He made a bad defensive move. I play bishop h6. Now knight g6 no longer in the cards as you lose the queen and you look silly. So now he has to play g6 to stop the checkmate on g7. The problem with that is it hangs the rook. Now, this is what I was talking about in the intro. A lot of times in a fianchetto position, this is not fianchetto by design. Black had to play g6 to stop checkmate, but oftentimes you'll have a pawn on g6 and a pawn on h6 and f6. It's a fianchetto position with the bishop on g7. If we get rid of the bishop on g7, in this case it's on b4, but let's say it's off the board or whatever, oftentimes the bishop that's covering the weak squares around the king is stronger than the rook. So oftentimes we can take the rook, but we don't want to. Sometimes we do, but it depends on the position. And I just want to give you guys just food for thought. Sometimes you just, instead of like taking the rook and grabbing a piece because you're winning the exchange, you're winning material, look for other options of building up and taking more squares around the king and creating more threats. So in this position, did I take the rook? Taking the rook is not a bad move. It's fine. I won material. I won the exchange. The rook is worth 5 pawns. The bishop's worth about 3. However, it's not nearly the best move. In this position, I played the best move. What do you think I played here if you don't take the rook and you want to build the pressure? I played knight d5. Now, this might look ridiculous to some people, but hold on. Let me finish. Instead of taking the rook, I gave my opponent my rook too. So that might look ridiculous at first glance. However, the reason why I was able to play d5 is because I was looking at the holes in my opponent's position. And I'm always looking at my opponent's king position and their queen position relative to my pieces. In other words, knight d5 attacks f6, check, winning the queen. It's a bigger threat than grabbing this. It's a bigger threat than him grabbing this rook. So now he has to answer this threat. And now things are going to get a little crazier. So stick around. After my opponent takes the rook, I throw in the aforementioned knight f6 check. Now, after my opponent moves into the corner, you might be saying, oh, great. You took the queen, which is a good move. It's not a bad move, but it's not the best. In this position, I played the best move, and before I show it to you guys, I want you guys to think, what's the theme of the video? Not to cash in a material right away, but to look for ways to build the pressure and create even more problems for your opponent. If you give your opponent one problem, that's tough to deal with sometimes. But 2, 3, or more problems, it's not doable. They can't deal with it, and they're going to crumble. So instead of taking the queen here, what's a way to build the pressure still and give your opponent even more issues? In this position, I looked at again, I'm always looking at the king position first. My opponent's, because checkmate wins the game, right? So I'm always looking at the king position. So in this position, I played queen h3, excuse me. Now I'm setting up a discovered attack. Discovered attacks are very powerful, but this discovered attack is going to lead to checkmate. If my opponent plays a random move like moves the queen out of the way, bishop takes the rook, now is not just cashing in on a rook, it's checkmate. So the king cannot come here or here. The knight guards all the squares. So basically I'm setting up a devastating checkmate. You can't stop it. So there's nothing my opponent can do to stop it. So this is even better than taking the queen. My opponent played bishop takes f2 here. I took the bishop, and there's nothing my opponent could do. He played knight f5 here, and I took the rook with checkmate. Anyway, I thought this is instructive because oftentimes when we don't take and we decide to build the pressure, that's the correct way to attack, and we win the game that much quicker. If you like this video, check out this one. I'll catch you guys next time. Go play some chess.